Number 7. Rodney Alcala. With a reported IQ of 170, Rodney Alcala, the infamous California serial murderer dubbed the dating game killer, chose to represent himself during his eventual murder trial. Alcala, who claimed the lives of at least 9 victims, garnered national notoriety for appearing on the popular television game show The Dating Game in the midst of his killing spree. Although the man had won the TV competition and thus earned a date with the episode's bachelorette, Cheryl Bradshaw, the latter refused to go out with him because she thought he was creepy. It's been theorized that Bradshaw's rejection might have exacerbated Alcala's homicidal urges, as he went on to murder at least 3 more women following his television appearance. During his trial, the man not only served as his own defense attorney, he also reportedly had a bizarre outburst in which he cross-examined himself in the third person. After each question, he would respond to himself in an increasingly higher-pitched tone. The situation was described as a tad awkward by Orange County Superior Court Judge Francisco Briceño. In spite of his supreme intelligence, Alcala was unsuccessful in his attempts to argue for his freedom. He was convicted of several criminal charges, including 5 counts of first-degree murder, and was consequently sentenced to death. On July the 24th of 2021, the man died of natural causes while incarcerated at California State Prison in Corcoran.
North of Hollywood, California. So have fun playing tennis. Thank you, Rodney. Thank you. Okay. You can go relax, meet each other, say hello, get acquainted, and they'll be back. And before...
Number 6. Trevor Summers. An estranged Florida couple in the process of divorcing was involved in a brutal domestic violence incident in March of 2017, which resulted in the arrest of Trevor Summers. According to court records, the latter had broken into the home where Elisa Matthewson, his former spouse, and 3 of their shared children were sleeping on the night of March the 11th. Summers ambushed Matthewson in her bed, assaulted her and smothered her with a pillow until she fell unconscious. For the next 2 days, he held her hostage by tying up her wrists and ankles with scarves and wrapping her entire body in nylon rope. Summers also reportedly used Christmas lights to restrain the woman to the bed frame. Eventually, Matthewson was forced into a car, which her estranged husband used to run various errands across several counties. At one point, while they were stopped at a Walgreens, Matthewson attempted to escape but was caught by Summers, who sliced one of her wrists as punishment. A store employee witnessed the altercation and subsequently called the police. Shortly thereafter, the victim was able to flag down a police car. She was then rescued and her abuser taken into custody. During the ensuing court proceedings, Summers fired each of his attorneys and ended up representing himself. The case subsequently gained international attention in August of 2022 after the defendant tormented his alleged victim by asking her a series of questions during the trial's cross-examination period. Summers was ultimately convicted of 11 total charges, including attempted murder, kidnapping, and assault. Number 5. Mariana Lesnick. The authorities in Iowa obtained a search warrant for a semi-truck parked at a rest stop on Interstate 80 near Victor. In September of 2017, officers found the body of 60-year-old Ernest Kuma inside the truck's sleeper cab. The man had reportedly died after suffering a gunshot wound to the head. His fatal injuries, it was subsequently reported, had been inflicted by 44-year-old Mariana Lesnick, who admitted as much during a 911 call placed after the shooting occurred. The woman claimed to have been sick over the incident, which had resulted in her being taken into custody on a charge of murder in the first degree. Lesnick chose to represent herself during her case's legal proceedings, a decision which 6th Judicial District Judge Andrew Chappell vehemently discouraged. The latter appointed a standby counsel for the defendant, who reportedly admitted that she lacked the basic understanding of criminal procedure and the rules of evidence. Nevertheless, Lesnick served as her own defense lawyer for her murder trial. during which it was revealed that she'd known the victim for 2 months prior to the shooting. He'd allegedly wanted to develop a more intimate involvement with Lesnick, who, conversely, wished to maintain a platonic relationship. The trial culminated with the woman being found guilty of first-degree murder, and she was consequently sentenced to life in prison without parole. Number 4. Zebulum James. A Mississippi man went on a violent and deadly shooting spree on the night of November the 19th of 2015. According to subsequent reports, the rampage began when Zebulum James gunned down 48-year-old Suzanne Hogan at a Jackson gas station in an attack that was determined to have been completely random and unprovoked. On that same night, James allegedly murdered a second victim, named as Christy Mitchell, in the parking lot of a restaurant in Ridgeland. Mitchell, a Missouri resident, had reportedly been in town on a business trip at the time of her tragic demise. In the wake of the double homicide, James was arrested on capital murder charges. Although he was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia, he was deemed fit to stand trial, which he did first in 2019 for Hogan's murder. James served as his own attorney in court, and it ultimately took a Hinds County jury less than an hour to convict him of the crime. He was already staring down a life sentence before the trial in connection to Mitchell's slaying had even begun. The man once again represented himself and at one point was removed from the courtroom and charged with obstruction of justice after reportedly arguing with a judge. In December of 2020, James was convicted of the second murder and sentenced to yet another life term. Number 3. Nadal Hassan. On November the 5th of 2009, U.S. Army Major and psychiatrist Nadal Hassan entered the Soldier Readiness Processing Center at Fort Hood near Killeen, Texas, and opened fire, killing 13 people and wounding another 30. The incident, reported as being the deadliest such shooting to occur on an American military base, culminated with Hassan being hit by return fire from base civilian police officers. The gunman sustained several gunshot wounds, which resulted in him being left paralyzed from the waist down. In the aftermath, rumors began to emerge that Hassan had been motivated to carry out his frenzied attack after having developed radical political views, which many of his colleagues described as anti-American in nature. An FBI investigation uncovered that in the months prior to the shooting, Hassan had been in contact with the Yemen-based Imam Anwar al-Awlaki, who was labeled as a militant Islamic extremist. 42-year-old Hassan served as his own defense attorney during the case's eventual court-martial trial in the summer of 2013. Military Judge Tara Osborne ruled that the defendant was mentally competent to stand trial. However, she also indicated that he had a clear disadvantage as he was up against a lead prosecutor with more than 20 years of experience. In court, Hassan claimed that he hadn't committed the horrific attack under the heat of sudden passion, but that it was his experiences during deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan that had caused him to switch sides and turn against the country for which he'd previously fought. Hassan declined to speak in his defense or question any of the witnesses throughout his trial. The jury, which consisted of 9 colonels, 3 lieutenant colonels, and 1 major, convicted him on all counts and recommended that he be put to death for his crimes. Today's topic was requested by your mum. If you have any other topics you'd like to learn about, subscribe and let us know in the comments section below. Number 2. William Richard Bradford. California man William Richard Bradford was arrested in 1984 in connection to the brutal slayings of his teenage neighbor, Tracy Campbell, and a Los Angeles barmaid named Shari Miller. After investigators had identified Bradford as the perpetrator of the latter 2 murders, they began to suspect that he might have several more victims who hadn't yet been discovered. He reportedly had pictures of 54 women in various modeling poses stashed underneath his bed. The police postulated that Bradford had developed the modus operandi of luring young women to deserted locations with the false promise of helping them build a modeling portfolio. The man was eventually brought to trial on a pair of murder charges, but ended up firing his lawyer in order to serve as his own counsel. In court, the prosecution sought to depict Bradford as a serial killer, but offered very little evidence in support of the theory that he'd killed anyone other than Campbell and Miller. However, Bradford chose not to dispute the unfounded claims about his suspected victim count, instead promoting them by saying, "Think of how many you don't even know about." He was ultimately found guilty of murder and sentenced to death, but passed away of natural causes in March of 2008, while still awaiting his execution. Number 1. Ronnie ONeal III. In the late evening hours of March the 18th of 2018, a disturbing 911 call was placed to the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office in Florida. The female caller, believed to have been Riverview resident Kenyatta Barron, reportedly said, "I'm so sorry, Ronnie," while screaming hysterically. The voice of an unknown man was also heard in the background of the call, which ended shortly thereafter. 8 minutes later, a second 911 call was placed, this time by a man believed to have been Ronnie ONeal III, who claimed to have been attacked by white demons and accused Kenyatta of attempting to kill him. He gave the dispatcher their home address, and officers were sent to the scene to investigate. Upon their arrival, they found Kenyatta's lifeless body in the yard in front of the house, which had been set ablaze by ONeal. In the aftermath, it emerged that the woman had been fatally shot by the 29-year-old man whom she'd been dating at the time. The couple's daughter had also been beaten to death with an axe, and her body left inside the house to burn. During the course of his violent rampage, ONeal had also reportedly stabbed his son, who, although critically injured, managed to escape the house fire and tell a responding detective, "My father shot my mother." In a decision that garnered national headlines, ONeal served as his own defense attorney during his subsequent prosecution on charges of first-degree murder, attempted first-degree murder, aggravated child abuse, and arson. In a memorable moment from the ensuing criminal trial, the defendant cross-examined his own son, asking him, "Did I hurt you on the night of the incident?" The boy replied, "Yes, you stabbed me." ONeal was ultimately convicted on all counts levied against him, and he was consequently given 3 life sentences plus 90 years without the possibility of parole. Thanks for watching. If you were being prosecuted for a murder you didn't commit, would you rather defend yourself or be represented by Kim Kardashian? Let us know in the comments section below.